Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Ready? Happy? Yeah? There you go. I'm Councillor Stan Forecast, the chairman of this committee, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the last meeting of this municipal year. Before we get started, I'd like to put on record of this committee, congratulations to Maidstone United for their FA Cup run, which concluded last week. There you go. Thank you, Councillor Nagy. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded for playback on the council's YouTube channel. Will anybody else be recording? I don't think so, no. If the fire alarm sounds during the meeting, please remain seated and the Democratic Services team will assess and give further instruction. There has been a change in the running order this evening, members. So it will now go item 10, 14, 11, 12 and 13. Item 1, apologies. I have apologies from Councillor Harper. Is there anyone else? No one's indicating. Perfect. Item 2, are there any substitute members? No. Item 4, there's no visiting members. Item Oh, forgive me. Sorry. Item 3, urgent items. We have none of those either. Item 5, are there any disclosures by members or officers? I'd have to go back. Right, I did that. Right, I'm sorry. Item 4, no visiting members. Item 5, there are no disclosures. Item 6, any lobbying that anyone wants to raise? None. Item 7, I move that the exempt appendix to item 14 relating to the Arts Hub and Makerspace be considered in public, but the information should remain private. If members wish to discuss the information contained, it'll be necessary to move into a closed session due to the likely disclosure of the information. Is that agreed? Agreed. Yeah. Yep. Oh, sorry, Councillor Eagle.
Say I was lobbied on item 14.
Thank you, Councillor. Sorry, I missed you. Item 8, minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of February. Are there any comments on those minutes? No. So everyone just having a quick gander. All okay? Cool. Item 9, are there any comments on the forward plan, or Councillor Russell, would you like to come in at all? Sorry, going back again. Was the minutes agreed? Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. Would anyone like item 9, Councillor Russell, or any other members like to come in on the forward plan? Claudine.
Thank you, Chairman. Probably just a really good point to say thank you, everybody. It's been a great year on this committee. I think everyone's worked really well, and I just really want to extend the committee's thanks, if everyone's in agreement, to all of the officers on my portfolio. They've all worked really, really hard this year to help make communities and leisure and arts really be a feature of Maidstone. So just a big thank you.
Excellent, and so do I, and I'm sure we all do around this room. Thank you, Claudine. So that brings us on to item 10, which is the events programme. The report will be introduced by Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, following on really from what I was just saying, I think you'll agree this is the biggest list of events that we've ever had to come to the committee. So it's looking like it's going to be a very exciting summer. It's split into 2 bits. So the first, on pages 9 and 10, they're the ones that Maidstone are doing just ourselves, we're the organisers. And then if you look from 11 to 12, that's the full list of everything that's going on in and around Maidstone over the summer. There are some things in some of the rural villages as well. So yeah, just fingers crossed for better weather than we've got tonight. And it's going to be an exciting summer for Maidstone. Thank you.
I second that, Councillor Russell, for some better weather. Would anyone like to comment? Councillor Gooch?
Thank you very much, and congratulations to the officer for getting all this together. There's a huge amount of stuff here. I have to say I nearly fell off my chair at item 2.7, paragraph 2.7, I should say, the amphitheatre. It exists and we are going to use it. Can't believe it. It did occur to me, have we ever spoken to the Cutbush and Coral almshouses in case either we might cause a disturbance or they might want to have a special invitation to come and have a look and see what's going on, because we're right on, or they are right on our doorstep and vice versa. And I just thought it might be nice. Thank you.
Yeah, if we have any events that are going to be particularly noisy in the amphitheatre, we write to all of the local residents in the vicinity to let them know, as we do for events in Moat Park, and they're invited to come along to those events or to raise any concerns they might have. So.
Yeah, thank you for that, if I may, Chairman. It's just that there might be one or two things, because they really are directly opposite, and they just might like a little invite. I mean, I'm sorry, I'll just go back home. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. When we do the River Festival, if we've got something on the amphitheatre, we usually let the people know what's going on in the amphitheatre and what sort of, if it's music, what, you know, if it's going to be loud or whatever. I think everyone would do that as a matter of courtesy.
I think this is a fantastic diary of events. I just hope that they're really advertised so that we get the numbers up. Thank you.
That's a good point, Councillor Fort. Is there anyone else who'd like to come in? Again, Councillor Nagy.
Thank you, Chairman. Nearly everything on this is supported by Maidstone Borough Council in one way or other, or is there little groups putting things on and we're just mentioning it?
You've got two different appendices there. The first one is just MBC run events, run and supported. The other list includes all of the commercial events that are taking place as well. So the first list is just being done by MBC.
That's on 9 and 10.
Yeah, just wanted to confirm that. That's pretty excellent for Maidstone Borough Council to be, what's the word, putting on a whole gala of events throughout the year. Should be quite fantastic, actually. Just need the summer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Nagy. Would anyone else? No one's indicated. Well, Anne-Marie, thank you. I think this is great for the county town. And I ask you all, is it agreed that the report be noted? Agreed. Excellent. Thank you, members. So that brings us on to item 14, the Arts Hub and Makerspace. Over to you, Claudine.
Sorry, I forgot you just messed around with the order there. Yes, so really pleased to be able to bring this to this committee on the last ever meeting of the municipal year with me as the cabinet member. Something that we've been working on for a while now. So it was included in the local investment plan for the UK Share Prosperity Fund. And since 2021, we've been looking at it. We've done a feasibility study really to look at the space and what was needed. That's in Appendix 1. And tonight you've got on page 133, you've got an indicative design of what the space might look like. The options on the paper tonight, just to be clear, because there are some other little things that say options, but they would be for later on. So the option really is to get the committee's ideas and their approval to setting up a arts and creative makerspace. In case you're not too sure what one of those are, it's a little bit like a business terrace, but for the messy creatives. So a place where they could hire a little space. There'll be an exhibition space at the front. I think page 133 makes that quite clear. So we've looked at different places, but we feel that the best place for this is at the bottom of Granada House. We've already had notice that somebody's moving out. Obviously, Maidstone own that building, so we are able to give that a little helping hand to get going. We've looked at the cost for the first 3 years. At the moment, obviously, they are indicative. They will need further refining. But sometimes I think it's just important to think, yes, we are doing financial things, but we also need to do social things as well. But at the same time, not expend too much money on getting them going. It's a bit like when you start a business, as I know, you start small and hope that it will be the thing that grows and the town gets known for, but you have to just start, and I think this is a good start. So I'm really pleased, and I thank you for the work that you've put in, Anne-Marie, into this. And I just hope the committee will be on board with it, think that it's a good location, and we'll get the okay tonight. Your recommendations are on, it's just whatever you're saying is to recommend it to the cabinet, page 83, which the final decision will be made at the cabinet meeting later in the month. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Russell, and again, thank you, Anne-Marie. Some more good news following on from the last agenda item. I personally think this is a good use of space that we own and is soon to become vacant. And I open the floor up to members to make their comments. Councillor Gooch.
Which one of us would go for? Do you know what? This is a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer. I really got quite excited. Not that I normally get excited, you understand, but I was reading through this and I read through all the stuff and I thought, this is the kind of thing that a lot of people have been wanting for such a long time. There's, at the beginning, the other report that we've had about helping the vulnerable and all the rest of the stuff, what we've been doing. This is the other side, how to give the town a bit of oomph, to give it something else to do, something else to bring to the town. Because after all, the retail is changing, isn't it? I know it's all in the papers, but I really thought that this is wonderful and such an opportunity to use Granada House. When we're looking at the options, either that we do it ourselves or we get somebody else to do it, for the first 3 years, I get that. I was just a bit concerned. You see, if we go out to tender to local arts organisations, bless their hearts, they've got enough on their plate. Why expect them to go through all that hassle if we think we've got the resources to do it ourselves? I think in the fullness of time, as they get used to the idea and see, hopefully, us doing it, they might say, actually, I can do a better job, Borough Council. Let me run it for you. That's the ideal. And obviously, with business support from the business terrace, we would work together with them anyway, I would hope, whether it's us or whoever else. My concern is, if we do it ourselves, that is to say, take on direct responsibility, what about the resources? Because I don't remember seeing anything in next year's budget, of course, which I have memorised fully, which I haven't. But I assume that that would be something that we would have to apply funding for, because I do worry. We already had to strip the Maidstone Museum of all its staff, didn't we, Anne-Marie? And I really don't want to put that kind of pressure on or to, create another problem for ourselves. So if you can help me with the resources for option 1, I'd be really grateful. Thank you very much.
I think the intention is to apply to Arts Council England for funding to support the project and actually deliver it over a 3-year term. So that would include staff costs. Yeah.
Fingers and toes crossed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Gooch. Would anyone else like to come in? Councillor Fort.
I think it's great, and I think the building Granada House is the right place to put this. I think it will invigorate that part of Gabriel's Hill, and hopefully you may get some more independent traffic, because they're smaller shops and they're most probably not so expensive as the high street. So I think it's the right position, and I think it's a really good scheme. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fort, and I agree with you completely. Would any other members like to come in? Councillor Eagle.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think what you've got here is, perfect match for what we're looking for. I think you've done a really great job, Anne-Marie. This is perfect. The I see that the Adult Education Centre has come up for sale or come up for auction. And
I'm going to buy it.
well, it's oven ready, if you like. It's got, 8 rooms on each, pottery studio out the back. It used to do art classes. Why do you think it wasn't included in the list?
Thank you. I think the cost. So to buy a I mean, if you're starting a venture, you don't really go and buy £500,000+ building to try something out, do you? I know that that centre did have a lot going for it. It's also grade 2 listed, so any planning that we would want to go through to change anything would be lengthy and potentially expensive. KCC have owned it previously, so I'm not entirely sure what their regime of like repairs and maintenance were on the building. And obviously this committee has got a bit of a knowledge from having the Archbishop's Palace on and looking at options for that, carrying another grade listed building on the council's books, bearing in mind, this is one slice of a pie that includes temporary accommodation and everything else. I think this very sensible option is to try this, from little acorns, oaks grow, and fingers crossed it will, but I think it's very important to try it with a building that the council owns where we can start that, nurture it and hope that it grows. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from there. It sounds like you've been put off by historical buildings, but on another note, it would be council-owned property if the council were able to afford to buy it. And it is arts at the end of the day. It's not something that we don't do on the council, is it? It's not like it's not been done before, is what I'm trying to say. I think this will be successful. An arts hub, wherever it is, I think you've got a great team that's going to ensure that it will succeed. I just feel that I know it's last minute. I haven't had a lot of time to think this one through or look at it through. I believe my group leader contacted Mark Green today and gave a reply that at the end of the day, we can't afford it. But I wondered if there was a way that we could afford it, or if we re-looked at the finance. And I believe I could ask for that. Is that okay?
I mean, I think the main thing that I would say here is if you look at councils all across the country and where they've come into trouble, it is within this portfolio and it is within big spends in this portfolio. So it is a discretionary item. I think we do need to do it for Maidstone and for the people of Maidstone. It's a fantastic idea, but you just can't spend too much, to do it at the start. If we'd have had the KCC building given to us for £1, it might have been a very different discussion. But with costs like that, we've got to refit it, the repairs and maintenance, the grade 2 listing. Added to that, you'll see from your KPIs later that footfall in the museum is at a bit of a low. So you are in that area. I think where you're at the bottom of the mall with the parking, with the Granada House, with what's going on Gabriel's Hill, I think that is far and away the better location for it. And it is a location where it's something that we can try and fingers crossed it will fly. But at the same time, we've not, had a capital outlay and ongoing repairs and maintenance costs of probably, well in excess of £500,000.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. I'm going to bring you all in. I would just like to sort of echo Claudine's points, really. I think the strength of this idea is it's oven ready. The building's about to be vacant. We own the building. Let's just do it, get something done, but which is going to be good for our residents. But I'll bring you back in, Councillor Eagle.
No, that's fine. I understand where you're coming from. But I would like to see, or if it was possible, to look at the financial situation of purchasing that historic building. And in response to the museum footfall falling, maybe that location of an arts hub there, buzzing, would bring more footfall to a needed venue as well.
Councillor Nagy and then Mark, do you might want to comment?
Thanks, Chairman. Just to get my head around Granada House, will there be living accommodation upstairs? Yeah. And underneath, the ground floor will be all open space.
If you have a look on page 133, I think that's the indicative design at the moment. So there's little space
And divided up as fit for purpose, whatever, whoever goes in there.
It's got some little studios, and then it's got some exhibition space at the front, and you've got some facilities at the back, like an office and toilets and things. So, and there's a meeting room. Yeah. So it's little units. So it's very much like the same concept of as the business terrace. So like little messy creatives would go there to start off with, and they would hire one of those little areas, and then there'd be the exhibition space at the front as well. And then hopefully it would go from there.
Yeah, and is there any parking with this Granada House at all?
No, there isn't.
No.
The mall, but no, not.
The question is, do we try and find someone to take it over from us, or do we do it ourselves? That's the decision tonight.
And that's not the decision tonight. We're just looking for the committee's viewpoint on the idea, and then obviously once we've got your views on the idea and the location, then we'll go forward and bring further options when it's been worked out in more detail.
Well, I think it looks fantastic, and it would be nice to do something with that building after all these years. I know we have to take the overhang down for safety purposes, but it would really liven that bit of the town up, I think, if it was to go well. So yes, I certainly support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nagy. Do any other members want to come in on the agenda item at all? Councillor Eagle.
On this again, I wonder if I can make an amendment to it subject to further discussion and the evaluation of perhaps that other venue.
Thank you, Councillor Eagle. I suspect you'll need a seconder for that if you have one around the
Could
room.
we just confirm the amendment?
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Amend it to subject to further discussion and the evaluation of the other arts centre, the adult education centre. Sorry, thank you.
Councillor Russell, do you want to come in on that?
I was just clarifying with my officers about when we lose the UK SPF, and it's March 2025. So we have obviously got some time for decision, but we need to spend that money that is allocated for this thing, and it obviously needs to be spent on an actual plan by March 2025.
Okay. So in light of that, do you have a seconder, Councillor Eagle? No. Okay, brilliant. In that case, and if there's no other members who wish to come in, I move that we accept the recommendations as per the papers. Is that agreed, members? Agreed? Brilliant. Thank you very much. That brings us on to item 11, third quarter finance update performance report. Claudine, back to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, so we've got third quarter finance update and performance monitoring report. The report sets out the 2023-24 position for the services that report to this committee. If you have a look at the variances on page 22, you'll see the two biggest variances are obviously the leisure centre, where we've got under the current contract, we're responsible for excess utility costs, and then Lock Meadow. We obviously did know that the business case for that anticipated that we would have some leases that were ending, and there would be a period where we would have some empty units. So it doesn't alter the financial basis of the acquisition, but at the moment, obviously, we've got some empty units. Although there's positive news in that the new Lock Meadow Health Club is actually just gaining more and more members, so that is really good. If you look further on, you'll see that we've got the UK SPF money. Oh, sorry, I've missed the bit on that I was going to say. We've got the KPIs, which are on page 24. We've got the lift data, which is good because you can see the number of households at risk of or in financial crisis has actually gone down. then you'll see we've got footfall at the museum, which has gone down. That obviously the reason for that is because we're focusing on the new gallery. So we can't wait to open that. That's hopefully going to open at the start of June. But that has been quite an intensive, really short run process. So we've had to, the new archaeology gallery at the museum. So a lot of staff work has been and time has been, an effort's been devoted to that. So at the moment, they've not been probably doing all the activities that they would do to try and get more and more people into the museum. Although having said that, during the last half term, the footfall at the museum, they actually had one of their busiest days ever. So that was really good. And also pleasing to see that the Hazlitt ticket sales are up as well. So it looks like, you know, people are wanting to come to town, they're wanting to spend their money in town. So that is really good. On page 26, you've got the UK SPF, the things that we've spent that money on. And then finally, your recommendations are on page 14. So there's a series of them on there, which is that the revenue position be noted, that the capital position be noted, that the performance position be noted, and that the UK Share Prosperity Fund update be noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Would any members wish to comment? Councillor Hinder.
Thanks, Chair. A number of aspects on this I'd like to comment on. Firstly, can I say a big thank you that the report this time is in colour, which has helped me enormously. It's something I know that we've mentioned in the past and find it difficult to identify when it's just been in black and white. But this being in colour has been a great help. I hope it continues. With regard to the Museum and Visitors Information Centre, I go back to the days when the Visitor Information Centre was here in the town hall, and concern was expressed then that it was being moved out of the town hall to the museum. And I do wonder, this unfortunately doesn't give me statistics, but what was the actual ratio of people going to the museum to visit the museum and people going to there to visit the Visitor Information Centre? Because I think that statistic might show up a few anomalies if we were able to find that out. But overall, I think, yeah, times are tough, and it's pleasing that the market is managing to keep its head above water and going up. Pleased about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hinder. There was a question there about the ratio. What was that? Cool. Claudine, do you want to, or Carly, can we bring you in?
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Forecast. We have data back, I'm looking at it now, to 2013-14. As far as I'm aware, that data has never been split, but I can make further inquiries as to what other historic data is held outside of the system to see that. But my gut feeling would be that we haven't got that split ratio, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you, Carly. If you could, then that would be great. And if we can't get it, then well, them's the breaks almost. Would any members like to come in further? Councillor Gooch.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know if it's a comment or a question. On page 22, Lock Meadow Complex, near the end, we said at the end that near the end of that paragraph, we knew that there'd be a period where the units would not be generating income. I understand that, but that was looking at it through the capital lens over a wider period. And I'm wondering if perhaps in the budgeting process, would it have been wiser to have allowed a dip in the revenue, knowing full well that we wouldn't get the income, in the hope that it would, an expectation that it would go up again? Or have I not? Otherwise, we've got quite it looks as if, oh my God, it's losing money. But actually, that was in our grand plan. Can you help me with that one, please?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Gooch. Yeah, it's a fair point. We didn't play around with the budgets because it would be a bit messy to reduce the budget one year, then increase it the next year. And I thought this was the most transparent way of showing it. But as the comment here says, we'd anticipated that there would be a period during which we'd either have to give a rent-free period with businesses vacating those 2 units, Frankie and Benny's and the Feathers. And clearly we haven't got tenants on board as quickly as we'd have liked. It's a difficult environment for the leisure sector. So what we're doing now is we've appointed new letting agents who we hope will look at the opportunity a bit more laterally and not just confine themselves to restaurants, pubs, because we have to be open-minded about what type of business we have in those units. I mean, but the good news about Lockmeadow is that we've got the big tenants there, Odeon, Hollywood Bowl, Gravity, who are performing very well, who are the core of the offer there. So, I mean, it's still a very solid investment for the council.
That's very helpful, encouraging. Thank you. Couldn't quite get that right, but thank you for that. I have another observation, please, Chairman. On page 25, at page 25, Hazlitt Theatre at the top there, the number of outreach projects. I know we haven't had any previous data on that, but this sounds like an old chestnut to me, thinking back to the earlier history of the Hazlitt Theatre. And one of the points we raised even then was that they weren't doing enough community projects. They weren't involving the charities and the youngsters and whoever else more. They needed to do more community work, so to speak. And I suspect that it was because of the confines of the contract at the time. So therefore, are we to assume that the reason that the trend isn't going up is because of the confines of the contract, or because that the people who manage the contract just haven't pulled their finger out and done what they should be doing? Thank you.
I mean, this is only the short trend for the last quarter, so I don't know whether Carly would be able to elaborate further on what the long trend is, because we haven't actually got that on the papers.
Thank you. We only started collecting this specific data from Q1 of this year. This was one of the newly introduced KPIs for the committee. At the beginning of the year, we were at 32, Q2 was 22, and then Q3, as you can see, was 17. I'm just looking at the methodology behind the collection for the indicator. And I know that it is part of the operator's agreement with us that they do provide outreach, which is why we started collecting it. I just don't have any further information than that, so I'd need to refer that back to the service area and see if they can provide some more information for you, Councillor Gooch.
Thank you for that. I was just wondering if we were expecting a certain level, but I take the Cabinet member's point. We're only at the beginning of this, so I think I'm probably being harsh. Tough, isn't it? I like being harsh, makes a change. May I just make another comment, please, Chairman? I notice halfway through the paragraph on page 25 under the museum, it says the decision was taken by previous management to stop extra events, tours and other activities. I was one of the members who made the decision to cut back the budget on the museum, and I was one of the members who was there who had to gulp at having to make that very harsh but very necessary decision that there be fewer staff. And I just couldn't let that go. I just didn't want to blame management. At the beginning, it was a member decision when we were at the budget stage. And I just think that members ought to stand up and be accountable whatever the consequences were of that. And having said that, this gallery initiative is such an exciting initiative, and I hope it gives us the payback for the decisions that we had to make at that time, and the correction, the adjustment of how we use staff time to reach that goal. I had to get that in, but it was a decision that, yes, it did come back to bite us on the bum, and it will haunt us, but look at what we've got in its place, the gallery. Thank you, Chairman. I had to get that in because that bothered me. Thank you.
It was a point well made, Councillor Gooch. Councillor Nagy.
Thank you, Chairman. Just on the Hazlitt, I'm not sure how it works with community groups, but my understanding is it's probably a bit expensive for communities to get in there. I don't know if there's anything special built in for communities. And isn't the hall at the top of the building, that's a part of ours as well? We own the whole lot, don't we? And I think the Hazlitt have control of the room upstairs as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right. So, I mean, I haven't been for a little bit to see all of the different rooms, but last time when the Knife Angel was here, they had a smaller piece that was in one of the rooms upstairs, and they were doing some youth work and outreach work then over the summer holidays. So, but I can check that with Mike Evans as to what kind of things they've been doing recently.
And is a local community groups like dancing schools always want to get in there and stuff? Is there a special rate? It'd be nice to know that, if that's possible to know. And that's the Hazlitt. And also it says the Feathers in Lot Meadow. We're doing something to make it more marketable. Do we know what that is? Because when you go by, you just see the plastic, and I wonder what we're actually doing in there, if I can answer that one.
We've cleared all the old furniture and equipment from Feathers on the basis that a new tenant would be unlikely to need that, so it'd be an empty space. And as I said before, we want to be flexible about how it can be used. So we're hoping that people will see the space and see the opportunity for their business, whatever that happens to be. But it's absolutely imperative that we get those units occupied, because it will contribute to the footfall and bring life into or even more life into the centre. So we are very actively looking for tenants for that space.
Yeah, thanks for that. Obviously, that particular unit has an outside facility as well, so I think that one would be in more demand than the others, especially in the summer, especially with all the events going on at Lot Meadow. Yeah, thanks for that. So I'm a bit more informed than I was. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nagy. Would any other members like to come in on this agenda item at all? No. Okay, we do have 4 recommendations for noting. So I therefore move that we we note and accept the position as per page 14. Is that agreed? Agreed. Brilliant. Thank you, members. And then that brings us on to item 10. No, that's a lie. Item 13. Claudine, over to you. 12. Sorry, 12.
I was going to say, I thought we were doing 12.
Sorry.
That's okay. So these are our draft key performance indicators for 24-25 for this committee. So if you have a look on page 35, you'll see them. A lot of them are the current ones that we already have. There's one new one that's been added with your agreement, which is the footfall at the Carriage Museum. So these have been developed based on new and potential off-log indicators, current strategic priorities, feedback from members over the course of the year, and advice from the heads of services and key managers. So looking for the committee's agreement tonight to keep most of these as the key performance indicators of this committee, and to add the new one, footfall at the Carriage Museum. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. They all look pretty sensible to me. But before I bring in Councillor Hinder, might I just ask you myself, Is there any scope for a potential dedicated KPI to the Lock Meadow?
I mean, the only thing I would say is it might fall under the remit of property, which might end up at corporate services policy advisory committee. But it depends really what you were thinking of with regard to the indicator.
Well, it was just an idea to flow out there. We might want to look at footfall. Personally, that's an opinion, but I'll open the floor, Councillor Hinder.
Thanks, Chair. Just following on from my earlier comments, I personally would like to see that the footfall at the museum is indicated separately from the Visitors Information Centre.
Thank you, Councillor Hinder. Is that possible, Councillor Russell, at all?
I'm so sorry, I couldn't hear that very well.
Oh.
Could it possibly repeat it?
Councillor Hinder. Councillor Hinder was just asking if we could separate the footfall at the museum and footfall at the Visitors Information Centre to be two separate KPIs.
Yeah, the follow on of what you said earlier. I mean, we can look at that. I think, yeah, that would be something I mean, I can't agree to it here and now because I don't know whether it would be possible, but if it's possible, we could add it. So if you add that in your recommendations, then we can have a look at it.
Thank you. So happy with that? Yeah. Would any other members like to come in on the KPIs? Councillor Nagy.
Thank you, Chairman. What really I love to see on here on this one is that the Carriage Museum is thriving. In what way? Is it just because we're promoting it more now, or people going in there? Is the River Festival Day the most busiest day of the year for it? You know, little things like that, because it's just nice to see it being get in there. Because I always say with the Carriage Museum, when you go upstairs, it's got that lovely model of what the Archbishop Palace used to look like. Every time I go in, I look at it for so long because I'm amazed of what it used to look like and what we've knocked down over the years. But just to see it on there is quite good, and it'd just be nice to see. I don't know how we work that out in figures, but what if there's an on every year, if the figure goes up or goes down?
Yeah, thank you. This is the new one. So hopefully the committee will be able to monitor that going forward, where, like you say, we haven't been able to before. So yeah, that's why we've put that on there. So fingers crossed it goes up and up.
Thank you, councillors. Any other comments on the KPIs, Councillor Gooch?
Amen. I was just wondering, why are we going to not have any further the extra visits to the borough for events? And the reason I ask that is because I thought, well, we hold some fantastic events at Moat Park, for example, just to pick one up. And it would be really useful to know how many people actually come in from outside the borough, because we can make money out of them, can't we? They're going to spend their money in our borough and in our town. So I thought, And the other point I just wanted to raise, have I understood it correctly that this new online tool or dashboard, that's the in word, does it mean that we'll all be able to connect to it and point and see what's going on at any given time? So 2 questions. Thank you.
I'll hand over to Carly in a moment to answer the first part of your question around the indicator change. There's 2 dashboards you'll see referenced in the report. That's okay, that's fine. So I just wanted to make that clear. So there's 2. One is the Office of Local Government's Oflogs dashboard, which is a compilation of data from all authorities across the country. So yes, absolutely, you'll be able to go in and take a look at how others are performing. It's in development, so it can be a little bit hard to read, and you'll just to flag that the data is lagging at the moment, is showing behind, so don't take it as current data. The second dashboard referenced in the report is dashboard that Carly's team is developing at the moment, and that will be a dashboard of all the indicators for this committee plus for other committees as well. And you will have access to that once we have developed it and tested it, to be able to check in on the data as we have it monthly. So you'll have more ready access to performance data than you do at the moment. So it won't be quarterly, it will be monthly. Though please bear in mind we don't receive all data immediately, so it will be as we receive it, as we access it, then you will be able to check on it.
Very impressive, thank you.
Carly, are you able to take the first part of the question?
Yes, absolutely. So the data for the extra events comes from a system called HUC, but isn't readily available. So it is something that we have to request as a one-off piece, which is why it's only an annual indicator, because the company doesn't necessarily track them. So there's a lot of work that would need to go in to readily produce that information, and it wouldn't necessarily be on a monthly basis either. So that was some of the thinking behind why that was then removed. Although I take your point specifically about Moat Park, I just don't have any information as to how that is tracked at the moment, as to whether that would be possible to add something in around that.
Okay, thank you very much, but thanks anyway. It's helpful to understand these things. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Any other members wish to come in? Councillor Nagy, over to you.
Just while we're talking facts and figures and statistics, I've always wondered, is there a chance that maybe we could contact the hotels we have in the borough to see when their most busiest weeks or months are, so we can look at maybe why they're coming in on the, obviously June, July will probably be the most busiest, but it'd be just nice to know what events are going on around it, like Headcorn, Leeds Castle, River Festival, just to see which particular weeks are busiest, and we might be able to work around that, because obviously we want our hotels to be full up, and we might be able to put events on to maybe help them in the lesser busier times. Is that possible, or members don't think that's worth doing?
I think there's certainly value in knowing why people are coming to the borough, Councillor Nagy, but I will defer to see if that's possible when considering the KPIs. If Claudine, I don't know if that's something that you could comment further on.
Is something I'm going to have to take away and check with the team. But yeah, I mean, it's something we can look at, certainly.
Brilliant. Any further comments, members? No. Therefore, I would move that we accept these KPIs and we recommend them to Cabinet, with the inclusion for Cabinet to consider splitting footfall at the museum and visitors information centre into two separate KPIs, giving us 8 in total, I believe. Is that agreed by everyone? Yeah. Perfect. Thank you, members. And that brings us on to item 13. Back to Claudine.
Thank you, Chairman. So we have the Preventing Financial Exclusion strategy. So the Council's Preventing Financial Exclusion strategy has been refreshed to respond to the change in need since the strategy's original inception in 2021. The strategy was originally developed in response to the negative economic impact of the pandemic. As part of this refresh, we've looked at what's changed since the strategy started and evaluated what we've achieved as a council. A summary of what has been achieved by the council is included in your papers in paragraph 2.4 in this evening's covering report, and includes delivering the One View project using predictive analytics and data to prevent homeless, supporting households at risk of crisis, utilising the policy and practice LIFT dashboard to run campaigns to increase the take-up of unclaimed benefits, including pension credit, council tax support and severe disability premium, increasing digital access to increase the uptake of benefits, and training sessions delivered at Trinity House Community Hub, working with South East Water and using data to help low-income households to reduce their water costs by accessing to social tariffs, designing an 8-page cost of living support information pullout, which was included in the council's in-house magazine Borough Insight, which was delivered to 81,542 households in Maidstone, organising and delivering a volunteering and funding event to groups across the voluntary and community sector with one-to-one mentoring sessions and keynote speakers, supporting 56 groups with 3 rounds of funding totalling £142,305 from the council's community resilience grant funding to support communities in their recovery from the pandemic. Delivery of the Household Support Fund, enabling a welfare fund for those in temporary housing to move into permanent housing, food larders for those experiencing food scarcity, and it's provided a hardship fund accessible to all residents experiencing financial hardship and a welfare officer post to support income maximisation and reduce debt. The refreshed strategy has been informed by national and local context and led by data and insight. The rising global and UK cost of living, conflicts around the world, alongside the ongoing COVID-19 recovery has obviously had an impact on Maidstone residents. This has led to a decrease in levels of financial resilience and an increase in need for support among some of the borough's most vulnerable. This includes low-income households, those with disabilities, refugees, as well as pensioners and unemployed residents. Your revised strategy, Appendix 1, is structured around 4 priorities of focus. Priority 1 is access to financial services, maximising income and debt advice. Priority 2 is recognising the impacts on physical and mental well-being. Priority 3 is improving chances through education, skills and employment. And Priority 4 is tackling food and fuel poverty. New actions have been developed to ensure the strategy continues to respond to the challenges faced by Maidstone residents, and the strategy document before you tonight has been through an initial design process and is a draft document, but I think you'll agree it's quite a comprehensive, well written, and it's something nice to look at and read document. So I thank officers for that and happy to take any questions along with Anna.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Are there any questions from members at all? Councillor Gooch, again, you sure? I think you're first.
Thank you, Chairman. Where do I begin? When I looked at the actual document itself, look, I know it sounds soppy, but I felt really proud about what this borough has done and continues to do. Sorry, but you know, there is so much that people need, and there is such a lot of difficulty out there. But when you read through this, and it's in the report, obviously, we've really got outstanding staff who work damned hard for our residents. I really think that very, very strongly. This document, I'm very proud of it, and therefore I would like to just make a few comments. For example, on page 45, our cabinet member, congratulations, because you're also leader of the council.
Yeah.
It says Claudine Russell, cabinet member for CLA and leader of the council. Well done, you kept that quiet. So
Thank
yeah,
you, fraudulent slip.
And while you're there, can I ask about the inclusion board? Who is it? Who's on it? Do they meet frequently? I should know this probably, but I don't. Can you fill me in, please?
Yes, of course. So the Inclusion Board is chaired by the Chief Executive and includes the Director of Strategy, Communications and Governance. My gosh, she will, Angela Woodhouse, she's just going to tell me off for forgetting her job title. And the Head of Housing and Regulatory Services, along with representatives from Involve, Maidstone, Maidstone CAB, and Golding Homes, and officers such as Orla Sweeney. So, and they meet quarterly. And the sort of terms of reference for that group is to take oversight of data from all of those organisations to identify trends in key issues that are facing our residents, to try to identify solutions of where we can work in partnership together to make interventions, such as mentioned in here, the No Wrong Door campaign, for example, as well as to focus on other key topics such as health and well-being, issues around housing and so on.
Thank you very much indeed. And that's obviously what makes it so comprehensive and thorough. That was a word I was also thinking of when I read through it. So thank you very much for letting me know about that. May I crave your indulgence and just point out just a couple of things in the document, because it's highly professional and I can't praise it highly enough. So I would like to observe that on page 46, on that in March 22, it did not look like a Nazi helmet. Can you think of another kind of cartoon? Maybe it's because I've been watching the Darth Vader. Oh yes, perhaps it's more like Darth Vader, but either way, I know I felt more like Nazis. And sorry, but there's a lot going on in the world today. At page number 46, in the second column, the second tick down, being trauma aware in our community, the events needn't be bold, need it? You're not being consistent there. And who is BEAM, B-E-A-M? Can you just tell me who BEAM are? I know it's obviously an acronym, is it? I assume.
Do you mean that little graph of the speech bubble? Sorry, I was just trying to pick up which graphic you meant. The speech bubble one. Is it that one? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, we can change that.
I don't know what, I've just tried to quickly Google to see what BEAM is an acronym for, and I actually don't know, it just looks like it's a title. But they work in conjunction with the housing team to support people who are homeless or, into employment.
Thank you for that. It's just that I'm assuming this document, it will be on our website and it's for the public to look at, and it's for members of staff, obviously, as well as members. So I think we need to be careful with our acronyms, actually. It could be the name of a charity. Absolutely.
I think it actually is the name, because I've just tried to Google. I don't think it is an acronym, it's just the name, but I think it should be in capitals.
Yeah. Stand with something. The other typos that I've got, can I suggest that I just email you to save time this evening?
Yeah, please do. Just for context, obviously we wanted to deliver to you tonight a design document, so you've got an idea. It's going to need to go through another process, so absolutely perfect. If you've picked up any typos, please do send them over so we can capture them all now.
Yeah, I'll email you, Anna. That's fine. Can I ask, on page 50, if I can find page 50, what does concern me a bit, of course, is that all the furniture is going to move around, isn't it, after April, May? We're going to have, I've lost page 50. The local context. The wards are going to change, but there's a lot of reference here in what we all know and love, the current wards. It's going to take us a long time, would take me a long time, especially if I don't get in, but you know what I mean? And I'm not sure, are we going to keep this the same? Isn't it awkward? And yet people will understand it if you keep it in the old language.
Yeah, no, happy to have that as a recommendation. I can tell you that already Carly is working with Ryan and the Democratic Services team to reset our boundaries on our data so that we can start to produce data as quickly as possible. So we will have that, so we can look to update this if under committee's recommendation. Happy to look at that.
Thank you very much indeed. And the pity of it is that the way the information is, it can actually focus down on a specific area of Maidstone within a ward. But of course, the wards are going to be bigger. So I think the impact might be lost. So I would certainly rest on your professional advice as to how you handle that one. On page 52, the headings you've got are what have we already done? And I thought, do you mean to have it as a question? And if so, you're going to need a question mark. And I don't think this is a typo. This is how you are wanting it to be understood. Or are you wanting to say what we've already done?
No, I think it should be what we have already done. I think
should it?
Probably is a typo, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought you were being clever and trying to trick me up.
No. I suspect that's just however it's appeared in somebody's mind. But it should be what we have already done.
Ah, right. Well, in that case, anything else I've got, I can email you outside the meeting. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Faye, and thank you, Anna. I make my fair share of spellings and typos, so don't worry. Councillor Fort.
I think it's a very important document and it's very well written. And when we look at this borough and we have 4 areas of deprivation that are in the top 10%, it is a very important document. That's all I'd like to say.
No, I completely agree. Councillor Fort, thank you. Would any other members like to come in on this agenda item? Councillor Nagy.
Thank you, Chairman. As we were discussing the new wards, I thought it'd be best to remind senior management that one of the confusing things that I'm finding is that the general election and KCC elections will be under the old boundaries.
They're not changing this, are they?
The general election boundaries have also altered because I'm now in a brand new constituency.
Yeah, the wards have changed in the different constituencies, but these boundaries were set before the new boards came out. So general election, there will still be an East and North Ward boundaries, and KCC elections will be under the old ward boundaries.
I don't understand. So MP numbers are changing, so the constituencies are changing. Borough councillors are changing, so the wards are changing. As far as I understand it, KCC councillors' numbers are staying the same. So I think that their areas are staying the same. But I might be wrong, but that's how I understood it. Change, same, change down the thing. But also what we just said is we need to get the data into the new ward for us, because obviously we're borough. We need to get the data into the new wards. That's what Carly's working on now, so that we can start to collect those with the new wards. And then I think when we bring this back as the when we have this as the finished document, it's right that we have the new ward names on that data.
I totally agree, Chairman, because obviously as the Maidstone Borough wards, but when it comes to other elections, they will be carried out underneath the old boundaries.
Are you sorry, I might be completely missing the point here, so please correct me. Is the concern the fact that the new that when there's a KCC election, that boundary will be split over a number of wards potentially because those boundaries aren't changing? Is that the concern and the question?
I'm saying is that we should make a note as obviously constituencies have changed, but the wards in those constituencies will be, especially general election, will be under the old boundaries. And apparently KCC elections will be under, like, for example, KCC up where I am, it's a north and east ward, and that will be the boundaries in their elections next year.
I think I'm probably just going to bring it right back to borough level, because I think, you know, out of all of us sitting around, yeah, what this is a borough document, and so it's to do with the borough wards. When we change the borough wards, we will update the names to the new borough wards, but we're not going to get involved in all the others. But I think just to sort of round off, you know, a document with page 9 to 35 is all saying what we've done. I think that is actually, going back to Councillor Gooch's original point, something that councillors should be really proud of. And hopefully we can keep going in this manner going forward, because we realise the problems haven't ended. So yeah, that's probably all I want to end on.
Absolutely, well said, Councillor Russell. Do any other members want to come in? No, nobody's indicating. Therefore, I move that we make the recommendations to Cabinet as per page 37, but with the inclusion to update the plan with the new borough wards post the 2024 election. Is that agreed? Agreed. Brilliant. Thank you, members. And the typos, of course. Yes, thank you, Debbie. Thank you, members. That brings the meeting to a close. I just want to put on record my thank you. Oh, Councillor Hinder, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you, Chair. This is my last PAC meeting, my last 1 year. Can I just? I know you're glad to see me go, Faye, but can I just say thank you to members that I know have been on this committee for a long time, like I have, and the work that's been done. And I'm heartened by what's going on at the moment, and I think it's moving in the right direction. Thank you, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Hinden. My first year chairing anything in my life, let alone a committee, you've been a big support, as have you all. So I'd like to put on record my thanks, and have a great evening. Take care.